No, you can't do a Roth conversion with your required minimum distribution, but it doesn't mean that you can't use your RMD as part of a bigger Roth conversion strategy. I'll show you a couple ways to do that. That more coming up. My name is Mike Bernardo, the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. While tax preparation is a one-time-a-year event, thank goodness, no one enjoys it. Tax planning, the creative work, the proactive, opportunistic work for you to find tax savings, ways for you to pay the least amount of tax this year, or maybe throughout your lifetime, even if that means paying a little bit more tax at low brackets today so that you can avoid tax in the future. That's the name of the game. That's the purpose of tax planning, and that's an evergreen approach. That's an evergreen to-do. So while tax preparation is seasonal and it's once a year, tax planning is year-round and always sort of looking out a few different years, even a decade out or more, to say, well, what are some strategies that I can implement today to improve my tax picture? The Roth conversion is one that you've got to consider each and every year. Does it make sense for you at this time to shift some dollars from pre-tax, growing in your traditional IRA or your pre-tax 401k, shift those over to the Roth side of your account, so Roth IRA or Roth 401k, paying tax on those dollars as you make that conversion, but then they're able to grow tax-free for the rest of your life and for the next generation as well. Does it make sense to do a Roth conversion? One of the reasons why you may want to do a Roth conversion or always need to have it on your radar screen is so that you can avoid future required minimum distributions. Roth dollars, Roth IRAs, Roth 401ks now do not have a required minimum distribution, only your pre-tax accounts, okay? And if this required minimum distribution out there when you turn age 73 and beyond pushes you into a higher tax bracket, makes your taxes less flexible, doing a Roth conversion now so that you have more flexibility and a lower required minimum distribution out there in the future can make a ton of sense. One of the questions that we get all the time is, can I do a Roth conversion of my required minimum distribution? I don't need these dollars. I'm forced. It's required. I've got to take them out of the pre-tax side. Can I just flip them and move them over to my Roth? Well, you can't. Unfortunately, you can't. But it doesn't mean that you can't use those required minimum distributions as part of a Roth conversion strategy. Here's one I just did recently. I do this every year with these folks, actually a handful of folks that I still serve and our team serves, and one that I've talked about in the past because it's an extremely important or valuable, helpful tax planning strategy. And this is where these folks, they're in their late 70s, they've got pensions, they've got Social Security, and they're making a little bit of withdrawals from their retirement accounts, but not much. They're in a decent financial situation. They've paid the mortgage off just a couple years ago. They're one of the common folks that have a mortgage into retirement a little bit. And when they paid their mortgage off, the amount of money that they needed to draw out of their investments went way, way, way down. So their required minimum distributions for each of them about $13,000, so combined about 26 grand, are resources they don't really need. So we've talked about, well, what do we do with those dollars? Do you just want them to pad the bank account? Do you know, is there some, while you're still young and healthy, do you want to do something extravagant with those dollars? What do you need them for? What would you like to do with them? Well, a couple of years ago, as they were, I don't think we need them. How can we reinvest them? Well, I shared a strategy with them and we've been doing it ever since. And that is, we take a look at their financial situation. They're already into the 22% tax bracket, no question. And so we're taking a look and we say, well, if you do a Roth conversion, after you take your required minimum distribution, there's a window to do a Roth conversion for them about 50 grand or so to get their modified adjusted gross income up to the limit where they could still avoid IRMA, income-related monthly adjustment amount, the surcharge that they'd have to pay on their Medicare Part B and Part D, this married couple, so it applied to both of them. So we want to stay below that IRMA threshold. But they could withdraw dollars and withdraw their RMD and then do a Roth conversion of another 50 grand and still stay in that 22% tax bracket and stay below the IRMA threshold. So that's what we've been doing. We've been calculating, all right, well, how much would a Roth conversion, what tax would that cause? What would the tax impact be? and we do a tax projection, and what it's resulted to, because they're having very little tax withheld on their pensions, they're not having any tax withheld on their Social Security, is essentially we're withholding 100% of their required minimum distribution to taxes. And when we withhold 100% of their required minimum distribution to taxes, we can then do that Roth conversion afterwards. After we do that RMD withholding, we do the Roth conversion of about 50 grand. We don't have to withhold any taxes on that. We can do that Roth conversion, flipping 50 grand over from the pre-tax side, their traditional IRAs, over to the Roth side, so it grows tax-free, and that full 50 grand lands in the Roth, so that's growing tax-free for their financial future. Make sure you do it in the right order. Make sure that you do the withdrawal from the IRAs, your required minimum distribution, withholding it for taxes before you do the Roth conversion. I know you might be thinking, well, 3 out of 4 years the stock market is positive. I want to do the Roth conversion early in the year, and then later in the year we'll then take the required minimum distribution and withhold all of that for taxes. You did that in the wrong order, okay? You've got to take your required minimum distribution first before you can do your Roth conversion. That's why the rule is, well, you can't use your RMD for a Roth conversion. So how do you know that? The RMD has to come out first. So make sure you do that. A couple other tips with this strategy, or a few ways to make it apply better for your financial situation. First, say there's a lot more room in your situation before you get to the income-related monthly adjustment amount threshold, that IRMA. Say your required minimum distribution is a lot lower, or you don't have the pensions like in that other example, and there's a lot of room. You could do a big Roth conversion. In fact, if you withhold 100% of your required minimum distribution and then do a big Roth conversion, there's more taxes that you're going to need to withhold. That's okay. I would still withhold 100% of your required minimum distribution and then calculate how much you should withhold on that Roth conversion. And even if you're only withholding 5% or 10%, still can be a great idea. And the alternative is true as well. Say that your required minimum distribution is a lot larger, and then that Roth conversion for you would be a lot smaller. You don't need to withhold 100% of your RMD. Say you need to only withhold 50% of your RMD. You send the rest of it to you in cash or into a joint account or a non-taxable account, and then still do a Roth conversion on top of that. You can apply and adapt the numbers to fit your situation. And then the second alternative, and this one makes a ton of sense, is parlaying this with a qualified charitable distribution strategy. Even better than that scenario that I shared before is if you're giving to the church or if you're charitably inclined, you can do a qualified charitable distribution from your IRA directly to the charity. You've got to be over age 70 and a half. So we're talking using your RMD for this, age 73. You could take, say your RMD in that situation, it was $13,000 per couple, $26,000 total. Say they were giving 10 grand to the church. They could send 10 grand directly from their IRA via a qualified charitable distribution directly to the church, and then take the remaining $16,000 out of their IRAs to satisfy their RMD, because a qualified charitable distribution counts as their RMD, and then can continue with the rest of the strategy. Everything else would work the same, except $10,000 less of income would land on their tax return. They could do even more Roth conversion. Simple strategy, but effective at using your required minimum distribution as part of a bigger Roth conversion strategy. Do this for a couple of years. You'll significantly shift the balance of power on your balance sheet from growing taxable to growing tax-free over just a couple of years. Work with your certified financial planner on that. If you don't have a CFP on your team, you can contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with K, wisemoneyshow.com. You can find us there as well, or give us a call at 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.